welcome everyone. Today we'll have a build testing for Diciple of Varashta as a summoner. So looking behind me, I have been testing this particular ascension a little bit in the past few days, and well, I wouldn't say it is the strongest build, but it does have some unique mechanics which can mend. So looking behind me, this is my final version of testing, and I'll show you guys a previous testing demonstration as well. So we're looking at a tier 16, tier 17 map, and yes, we're still using the Vultures after multiple testing with Flash, Meat Clover, and also the Giant Wisp. I think the Vultures, the leap attack is still one of the best for me as Spectres. And what you're seeing is we have both of the fire and also sand ascension genes to be commanding and as a disciple. And I have still retained a lot of the previous abilities and also effects that I've used in the previous videos. You can see we have multiple modifiers stolen coming from the calling strike of enemies, which steals 5 minutes of the modifiers, and also headhunter buffs and also abyss mods. So you can see on the top there's tons of buffs we have stolen. The build itself has a lot of versatility because we can potentially go into over 15,000 of energy shield. And yes, as you saw over there, I purposely showed you, I can be a little tankier compared to my other glass cannon summoners, but I still built the Diciple as a more glass cannon build. I'll explain the possibility of building a much tankier over 15,000 energy shield build as well for the Diciple. But for me, as for all the minions, I want to see how much damage we can deal. So, other than looking at this particular demonstration, I think maybe it's easier if we look into a bridge fight. I think bridge fight again is still the best demonstration for me for both map clear and also for the boss fight. Now, as usual, you can see the bridges, our minions are quite fast. They're not as fast and also high attack speed as the rage minions, but we have the ability to cast 3 of the genes. I'm actually trying to use 3 of the genes. The Ice Gem will allow us to have tons of mana regen and also a defensive bubble. The Fire Gem will ignite enemies and deals quite sizable damage over time. And finally, the Sand Gem will increase our critical chance against enemies and provide us with a pretty sizable small AoE burst of damage with multiple charges. But as you saw over here, what is happening is I am not commanding most of my genes because we're just doing enough damage with pure minions. So this can potentially be an endgame AFK build. But in comparison, the previous elephant AFK build or the range mini AFK build may be a more easy way, because if you want to command the genes, this one requires a few buttons. If you want to click a lot of buttons, you can also go with the rage zombies. So in that sense, I am struggling to find the strongest combination for the end game of the Diciple, but I have found a number of video guides to also showcase to you guys how to level as a Diciple summoner in the early stage of the game, which can potentially be very powerful. So, that said, let's jump over to the boss fight. So in terms of the boss fight again, I like to do a small adjustment. So you can see after looting the map, I like to take away my Spectres, and I like to put in the Reavers. Now I have purposely not used a Prison of Belief Jew because that can be a little expensive, but some of the weaker minions like the Reavers can be very cheap, like 10, 20 or 30 divines for the +3 Jew. So that said, let's have a look at the damage against the Uber boss. This boss have around 15 million HP, and we have tons of summons with Reavers and also Wolves. So right away you can see we have debuffed the boss quite heavily, and the burst damage really comes in once the boss gets stunned. And I did cast my rotations wrong with my genes, hence the lower damage. And personally, I try to make the build a little cheaper, so it's not as crazily high damage as to the previous rage summoner. You can see one of the benefits of this build is having multiple buffs. We have the headhunter buffs, we have the unholy might, we have more headhunter buffs, we also have abyss mods, and also we have the bubble, the protection bubble. So there's quite a few buffs and also versatility for this particular character, and at least for this ascension. So what I want to do is, I have also prepared a number of videos we want to go through with you guys, testing different Spectres as recommended by some of our viewers, and also testing other alternative form of this build that can be great. That said, let's come over to my character, let's go through the build and also the mechanics by itself. So we are a Diciple, and I try to run all 3 of the genes. And I tried the other Jinns in its special abilities. I don't think it really shined to me that much. I actually went for a little defensiveness, even though my energy shield is only 1000, goes to 1500-ish when we steal the tier 1 energy shield aura. Not the biggest deal, but this provides us with some more defensive layers. But that said, if you're going for energy shield, this can easily take you to 15,000 energy shield if you switch the chest piece, if you switch the helmet, and you switch the weapon to an offhand, and you switch the gloves, and also the boost to high energy setup. You can also get high energy shield on the amulet over here. Even on the rings and on the belt, you can really stack up huge energy shield if you want to become a super tanky disciple. Now, what I have been doing is with my Jinns over here with the Sand Jinn, I decide to, of course, to use this one for additional critical chance, and this will debuff enemy with critical weakness up to 20 times, so that's 10% critical chance for all our minions. And here the burst damage with the Diciple skill is quite sizable, because this skill provides us with the multiple usage, and it has 3 usage, ending up for 5 different hits because of the spell's effect. And you can see that our damage for this spell is about 380,000 per cast. And if we cast this one 5 times with more damage, this can be a pretty hefty burst damage, because I've gotten this spell to rank 36, which is pretty sizable, right? So very high rank spell. And our Ignite Fire Jinn is not the highest, but I did try to make it work whenever we can. So now that we are talking about the Ascension of the Jinns, we also have this ability which minions will deal increased damage for different type of persistent minions in your presence. I have tried to run as many different persistent minions as I can. So we have the warriors, we have the spectres, we have ravers, force mage, snipers, brutes. We have the wolves, which are also companions that reduce our damage taken, and also stone mages and also cleric. So I did try to make the command section work for us as much as I can. As for the rest of the setup, I didn't go as far to get additional sockets. As I mentioned earlier, those prison gems can be a little expensive, so I decided to not use them for this particular build. But instead, we're using the Grand Spectrum for the resistance we're missing. Of course, that's a bonus, but rather for the additional spirit. I gotten this build close to 559 spirit, and this is from 3 of the Prison of Belief juice over here. One here, and there is one over here. I'm using one of the Hate Timeless juice to provide us with more spirit reservation and a bit of additional minion damage together with the tribute. Finally, I decided to use a Time Lost juice for more survivability and also bonus spirit. We're getting 12 spirit per node, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's 60 spirit, and if I take the spirit off, this is 481. And putting it back, it's 559. So you can be finding more spirit over here as well as a percentage. Now this one is purposely selected for maximum chaos resist, because our rings increase enemies' chaos resist damage, and so we want to have as much chaos resist as we can. Alternatively, if you follow any of the other disciple build I've found for you guys, if you go with chaos invocation, you can skip this part. So if you go for defensive, no, not this one, it's this one. So you can get some really good chaos resist. Because of that, you're pretty much immune to chaos. And this is when you kind of really take advantage of the high energy shield. But again, I wanted to go with glass cannon because I want to see how much potential I can push out of the disciple. Finally, some spirit reservation, additional weathering effect is great because we do a lot of chaos bonus damage. And my weapon also allows my minions to do their physical damage as lightning damage, which is a small bonus, not a huge bonus, but this also boosts the damages over here from our command spell. So you can see 384. If I take this off, it is 260 DPS with the command of the Jinns. So quite hefty bonus damage, because this one does do physical damage. So you can see all the damage number, all the bonus damage linked over here. Now, in terms of the socketing, I'll try to be brave for this one. So our command Jinn can enjoy the bonus damage from Mastered, so hence having multiple minions really do help. So you can see both of my Jinns that deals damage has Mastered and also Mastered. Now, you can run a similar setup with the Mirage, which I explained to you guys how this can also deal damage, but at the moment I'm focusing on Fire and also Sand Djinn for now, just to reduce the burden of so many buttons. So we have Mastered, we also have Binding, which not only reduces our cooldowns, and also this gives us 30% more damage with command spell, so it's a huge multiplier. Together with, we can't have Breeding Frenzy, unfortunately, but we can have this. This could be a small, like, foresight bug, but we keep this. So we can have hulking minions. So this means minions are gigantic, and we don't need anything but the 20% more damage. So we can get gigantic minions for the command Djinns, which they don't take spirit reservation, so they're literally free. There's no penalty for gigantic, because genetic will just give us. So notice here Gigantic has the reservation multiplier for 130, but we're not suffering from that. So that means we're getting free bonus 20% damage from Gigantic. And this is also the case we have over here with Gigantic hulking minions for the Sand as well. Other than that, I have gotten this particular lineage support for additional damage. You can see if I take this off, it's not the biggest deal, but it is a small bonus chaos damage, which we actually enjoy in increasing enemies' chaos damage taken. Finally, we also have Swearing Flames, which give us higher magnitude of ignite for the fire minion, for the fire Djinn, and for the sand Djinn, we have concentrated area, and also we have Kakarot's Leash. This one will give us both our character and also our minion on Holy Might. Again, bonus chaos damage that really enjoys in the weathering effect. So those are the highlights of us dealing with the command spell. And if I was just running the command spell, we can pretty much push any of the tier 15, tier 16 maps. But of course, in the high end games, I have gotten my minions to rank 39, 38 without any of the Prison of Belief teams. Now, the minion itself, there's nothing too special because it's very similar to our previous minion build. I'll just briefly talk about, I do want to highlight the requirement for the stats. Now, my particular helmet means my skill gems have no attribute requirement. This means I can run all the level 20 or level 21 skill gems, but the supporting gems still have requirement. For example, if I were to put another support gem in, I can't do it here, but what you're going to see is we needed additional attribute to make it work. I have capped out all my attribute that is needed by having my gears and everything being maxed correctly. So you can see all the attribute is targeted in capping out with the gears and also the number of supporting gems, because each supporting gem will cost you 5 more intelligence or 5 more strength. So be aware, because you're running different Djinns, the Djinns themselves will use a lot of supporting gems. Now, I did forget to mention my Ice Freeze Djinn, the Mirage, coming over here. This particular one is going to provide us with a lot of mana regeneration and also a bubble that base our maximum mana. So this one makes me a little tankier with prolonged duration, with persistent ground and also prolonged duration for longer duration, and also binding for lower cooldowns, together with bigger area and also with lower mana cost. So I'll cast this ability to show you guys. So here we are enjoying some bonus mana regen, which is not the biggest deal. We're also enjoying this bubble, so a percentage of damage dealt by enemies outside the bubble will be absorbed by the bubble that is based on maximum mana. So this Djinn is here to provide me with a bit of survivability. As for the rest of the minions and also the setup, over here you can see in the demonstration video, we have been calling striking and also using this particular ability to steal modifiers for 5 minutes. So 300 seconds, 5 minutes, mini headhunter. recurring build-up and also rapid attacks. Now, if you find your Ravers to be dying a lot, you can give the Ravers Tackle's Revenge, but I like my Ravers just having the basic attack 25% instead of having them to die and then gaining the 40% attack speed. In terms of the rest of the supporting minions, nothing too special on the Force Mage and also the rest of the Mage. But for the snipers, we have all the debuffs. We have Bleed, we have Main, we have Blind, and also lots of Chen. So one shot from the sniper, 4 of those enemies are just permanently debuffed. The Brutes are very standard. They have just abilities that we found to be consistent. The Brutes don't really do much. In terms of Pain Offering, we have 2 lineage support. Brutus Spring makes it unkillable, while this particular lineage support will give us power charges, but we no longer need that. I actually want the mana and also life regen, mostly the mana, because as I cast my Pain Offerings, if I somehow waste all my mana, what I want to show you guys is how much mana regen we'll be getting by having the Pain Offering. It's a little harder to see, but you can see the consistent speed of the mana regen, and 5% mana per second is quite nice, especially when we're running Mind Over Matter. Alternatively, if you want to go with higher damage, Sacrificial Offering may be the way to go, because those 2 are replaceable. Sacrificial Offering provide us with about 10% more damage for all the minions once it's casted, but this one provides us with a lot of survivability for the mana regen. So for most cases, I actually use this one for survivability. The rest are pretty straightforward and just longer duration, and also the standard mini mastery and also the macabre. Now, I did not run an Aura bot. I can run an Aura companion, but I've been running that a lot, so I want to run a different companion to show you guys. So here we have Wolfpack. For the cost about, this is 50 spirit. So for the cost about 41 spirit, you get 10 wolves. It's pretty decent. So if you look at 10 wolves, the attack is not huge. It's about 200,000 attack because it's times 10. It's about 18,000 per wolf, right? Now, I purposely have the wolves to take damage from hits for our character, and then the wolves pretty much can't be killed with this Tackle's Revenge. And once they go berserk, they will be able to calling strike enemies, they will have chance to bleed, 100% chance, and also they have main. So the wolves are here to do debuffs. Together with the Vultures, they will be leaping towards enemies, as you can see in the setup. Skeleton Mages just here to shock, and also with higher magnitude of shock. I actually ran out of the stats for supporting gems, and we have Sacrificial Lamb on the Skeleton Cleric, so we can always be casting the Pain Offering. So that was the link. In terms of the gear setup, as I mentioned guys, you can run a Catalyst that provides you with, actually did I have the Catalyst? Oh sorry, you can run a Focus. There's Focus with +2 to minion spells with a huge energy shield, but I'm not running that at the moment. I decided to run with additional lightning damage just to be a little glass cannon. Now, I did find 2 additional videos that provide a great early game for the Diciple of Varashta, and I'll showcase those to you guys at the end of the video. There's some really cheap setup, some very interesting setup as well. But for my one, it is a little glass cannon. The +2 to minion skills, +5 to minion skills, +5 to minion skills, +4 to minion skills, and then +1 to minion skills to the corrupted ones. And tons of chaos damage. Here the gloves and also boots are made for the 60% increased socket effect, so we can balance the resistance we're missing. So the other gears can be chosen with any resistance, while here we can socket any resistance we're missing. The Headhunter is corrupted with double resistance. I will have the links to the Headhunter to you guys, of course. So here's the Headhunter, here's the chest piece, and finally I was looking into getting an upgrade for the Rattling Scepter for higher critical chance. Because we already have increased critical chance with our abilities, with Brutality, we might go for a Scepter that with higher critical chance is the minion life and also physical damage. So that's a small upgrade, potentially. Health Potion is great because when we cast Pain Offering, we drink the potion, we get tons of guard. And here we have the Spirit of the Bear for more health and also damage reduction. Here's a bit of Chaos Resist, and here's Anti-Bleeding, and also a bit of Mana Regen. Nothing too fancy. We have talked about the passives, so let's briefly talk about the actual game rotations, or the skill rotations. So, What you want to do is, our ability with command is, I guess, the highlight of the Diciple. Most of the time, I'll be using the bubble for safety and also mana regen, so this is always a frequent cast. Other than that, the fire Jinn, we can just always try to debuff enemies and try to, I guess, burn them as much as we can. Nothing too special because we don't scale that much with damage over time. The bigger scaling is coming with brutality and also deception. So ideally, I want to get brutality going, and when the knives are falling, the boss or whatever strong minion will get debuffed with higher critical chance taken, critical weakness. So we can cast this a few times, and once we spam this, ideally we want to spam it when the boss or the enemy is staggered or weakened by our minions with armor break and also stun. Once this is casted, we want to cast Deception. Deception have multiple charges. So if you look at Deception here, notice here we just did 5 explosions in a row. So we want to cast the critical weakness, and then we want to cast Deception afterwards. At the same time, if you're fighting bosses, you kind of want to cast your Enrage with your Skeleton Ravers, which will greatly increase the abilities, and also this is also enhanced for higher attack damage. And this is great because we have 18 of those against the boss. For normal fights, I'd like to go with Pen Offering and just drinking my health potion. And because I'm casting Pen Offering, after a few seconds, the power charge is not the biggest deal, but rather the mana regen is pretty huge. So this also is what keeps us alive. So that said, let's come over to the brief skill rotations of this particular setup. Not this one, I think it's the bridge one. Now I have to say, compared to the rage setup, I do feel like we are a little short of damage, but the survivability, the ability to cast the gems is great for the early and mid stage of the game. In the ultra end stage of the game, I feel like my high rank minions is doing all the jobs. My Jinns, you can see they're getting triggered, I'm casting the bubbles. They don't feel that impactful compared to the shamans just with pure rage. That's just my personal preference. But that said, you can see we don't have any problems because the minions are ranked, 39 or 38 even without Prison of Belief, and we're mowing down everything pretty consistently. Try to show you guys a little bit over here. So over here you can see we've stolen the buff for 5 minutes because I have been basic attacking with Mace Strike, and with the Calling Strike ability, I kind of like to just get lucky with some permanent buffs, and this happens very often. So as for the rest of the fight, it's actually pretty trivial because we're a little too strong just with the pure minions, and our passive minions will just jump and mow down everything. I think there was a stage where I lost a bit of health, but we recovered super fast. So unlike the energy shield build that really enjoys chaos invocation and 1.5k energy shield, we have multiple ways of sustaining ourselves. So we have the guard, we have the life regen, health regen, we have mana over matter, and also we have energy shield. So we have a bit of everything for this class kind of build. Let me see if I can find a spot where I took damage. I can't find it, but I purposely try to take some damage and to showcase how much regen we have with mana and also life. Now, my boss rotation wasn't the best because you know me, I have all the theory crafting, all the rotations, but here I pressed the round setup and so I tried to cast a buff with critical weakness, and then I spammed my brutality and deception too early. What I should be doing is I should wait for the boss to get ready to stagger and then spam my sand Jinn afterwards. But the boss was already dying. I only had about 3 to 4 second window to cast the rotations I spoke about, and I couldn't do it properly. That's the downside. But you can see all the buffs that we enjoy as a minion summoner. So if you want to see all the setup, this is also available at the end of the video. Now I know this video is a little faster than usual because we had some complaints saying the video is too long, and I understand that too. So at the end of the video, I just show you guys the bridge setup for testing. Now before we finish, firstly, I have had some requests to test the Wisp. So here we're running the Gigantic Wisp, and I'll show you guys the demonstration with the Gigantic Wisp. The reasons I tested the Wisp but I didn't run the Wisp because the Wisp are very fast. They're very similar to the Vultures. They cost a little less compared to the Vultures, I believe, so you can summon a few more. So you can see I'm summoning 8 of those, and they're very speedy. The downside is they have less base damage. I think I was having about 120,000 damage per wisp, and here for the vouchers, just to show you guys, I have about it should be a little higher. I don't know what I did over here. So back then, I think I definitely had a little. So I had 120, 100. Did I change any of the gears? Maybe just not showing correct. So here the vouchers is showing to be about 120 DPS. So the reason with not using Wisp, I don't think anything wrong with Wisp. They're pretty decent. They're very fast. So if you don't want to try the vouchers, you can go with the Gigantic Wisp. They just run towards the enemy, then they start attacking. And if you guys know about the community Exile, you can come over here to see where to capture those Spectres, of course. So if I tap in Wisp, the Gigantic Wisp, where are we? Oh gosh, I should have typed the other one. So, but you can search for the Wisp and also the minions we talk about over here. So just a personal preference, I think the Wisp are definitely decent, very fast, the cost isn't that too high, and they're very speedy to charge at enemies and they start attacking. But the vouchers we're using, they tend to leap forward and not just one-shot enemies, and that's what I was enjoying. And as the rest of the testing, I also had a recommendation to try the meat cleavers. So let's see if I can show you guys over here. Those have some really cool animations. Let me see. So the meat cleaver is one of the monsters that is found with Act 4 and at the front door of Nagaku, one of the special rare monsters that's like carving meat. So once you capture this one, coming over to the map, one of our viewers recommended the meat cleaver. Now I do want to mention, it is a little more intensive for the graphic card. You can see there's more animations. The meat cleaver costs 99 base spirit, so they do cost a little more. I can only run 6 of them, and they just go cleave like crazy. You can see the animations on the screen. So meat cleavers, I think they cost a little too much, and they don't charge frequently enough. And the attacks do bleed enemies, which is great for bleed level 4, but it didn't shine to me. Just they wasn't fast enough with the leaping. So you can see it jumps forward and they start cleaving, and there's a lot of bleeding, there's some decent damage, but it didn't feel too strong for the cost of the additional spirit cost, because we can only run 6 over here. But it was quite fun. So yes, after trying those Spectres, I went back to my vouchers and just to share with you guys the testing. Now, in terms of the videos I mentioned earlier, here we have a great video from Frostplay, how to introduce and learn about the Diciple of Varashta. And here I found a really cool build coming from Aegis over here. It is running a permanent freeze build that is very interesting. Now, one of the questions is, how come I didn't incorporate this particular setup in my own build with massive screen clearance with also permanent freeze? Is that I actually tried this setup, but what you might notice is after trying the setup, I tried very similar and also with my rank 36 or 39 minions, is that my minions are killing the enemy so fast, they actually are not freezing enough for me to spread the freeze. It is potentially possible to run this setup in a temple, but for me with high rank minions, they're just killing everything before I could permanent freeze them on the screen. So it made the build a little trivial in the end stage of the game, simply because I didn't need to freeze enemies, I didn't need the wide screen coverage. If I was just running pure minions, it would have killed them as fast as it could. But that said, if you guys want to see other variants of the Diciple, which I believe both of them were running energy shield as well, you can really get a high energy shield with a low budget cost. Because of the inflation, I think the 150 divine build may be a 200 divine, and you can see you can get easily over 12,000 energy shield with a focus and also high energy shield geared. I want to provide you guys with a bit of variety with the Diciple over here as a pure minion summoner. And finally, before we finish, I'll provide you guys with one bridge replay instead of all the replays I tested to not make the video too long. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this season of summoners, and I pretty much focused on all summoners this entire season. I've tested a lot of different minions and we had some really fun. Looking forward to the patch of the future update because I think I pretty much tested most of the summons. I tried those boots, I tried everything, and my gears are pretty high-ended. In the future, I'll try to have budget minion builds for leveling, and then we look into high-end minion builds and even rage builds, zombie builds, everything related to this particular game related to summons. I love summons because they allow me to kind of chill, run around, and the minions will kill everything. And the best part about this build is that you have tons of wolves to be leaping at enemies. So before we finish, let me show you guys the wolves. I missed the wolves. So what you can see is here we have both the wolves and also the vultures leaping enemies. The vultures still leap a little faster, so you don't get to see the wolves leaping, but you literally have like 16 things jumping enemies. Whatever appears, it's getting pretty much one-shotted. So it's really fun. Now, hopefully you guys found today's video helpful. Again, a big thank you to everyone on YouTube, especially our supporters, and also those of you guys who's been supporting me on Patreon as well. And we do have a new feature on the Majestic YouTube channel. If you click onto this, you can become a member. Yes, I've added this just recently, and this will allow you to have early access to videos that is posted a few hours or even half a day earlier if you want to watch those videos a little early. But yes, this will cost money. So please be aware the membership will cost money. And if you do want to watch videos normally, those videos will still be available after 6 to 12 hours, normally on the time we post those videos. And I'll be aiming to post at least one Path of Exile video a day, and this will be including guides, tips, news update, and also the latest tricks that is discovered on both the English and also Chinese community to keep you guys updated. And if you like those videos, make sure you leave a nice comment and also leave a like for those videos.
The oath dictates. Assist me, Navera! No mana!
Now, before we finish, if you guys haven't subscribed, this is a really good time to do so because I'll be looking into the latest Path of Exile 2 news on different communities and also on our official forum, official webpage. I'll also be looking into the best build for each of the class as the meta develops with the Chinese and also the English community. So stay tuned for the latest update and also guides for Path of Exile 2. And of course, this is gonna be a big month for us. And I'll try to bring you guys all of the latest content and also guides for Path of Exile 2 to come.